My name is Sam Cohen-Devries, and this is my final project for DATA620 Web Analytics at the CUNY School of Professional Studies. I am doing a analysis of the open data set from Yelp, which consists of reviews and data on the associated businesses and users. And in it, I'm going to do a combination of natural language processing and sentiment analysis. Looking for difference in word sentiment, whether positive or negative, and see if there are any differences among regions, different regions of the US. And then also be doing a social network analysis to create a map of connected businesses around the US. So this is a pretty large data set, and I got some help in importing it. There are resources on the web that you can use. I brought all the data in chunks, and I'm only looking at the businesses, the users, and the reviews themselves. So if you look at the businesses, if you look at the reviews here, you will see each one is tied to a individual user, an individual business. It will give you the rating and the text of the review, as well as the date when it was given. And the users themselves have a number of attributes that I don't use in this analysis, but could be helpful in further analysis. But it will give you their name, their review count, the number of reviews they've left, and a few other sort of descriptive or social statistics about them, as well as their average rating that they leave. And so before filtering it down, the data set consists of 6.7 million total reviews between 190,000 businesses and 160,000 users. And so each one is tied to a state. I wanted to aggregate the states into regions for better quality of the analysis. And one of the first things you see is that it's pretty heavy. It's not evenly distributed, so it's really distributed among 4 regions for the most part: East, North, Central, Middle Atlantic, Mountain, and the South Atlantic. I also was able to get the list of the distinct categories, although you can see that each business is tied to a number of categories. But I can see that the most popular are in food service, shopping, and health. So I chose to focus on those 3. And so after filtering down all of the data, I'm left with about 100,000 reviews, which is still a pretty large set in terms of processing for social network analysis, but it gives me enough to work with. So for the language analysis, I'm using the NLTK package, and what I want to do is essentially I'm getting word counts by review score, and or rather getting getting the associated ratings for each individual word, and I want to filter out some unnecessary words. So I'm taking out stop words, I'm taking out numbers, and I'm taking out anything that's just pure punctuation. What I'm doing here is that I'm altering the review score to give it a positive, neutral, or negative connotation, so that 1 is very negative, 2 is slightly negative, and so essentially I'm -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2 rather than 1 through 5. And then what I'm doing is I'm calculating a average review score for each word, and then an average review score for each word by region, and then I'm trying to get the most volatile among regions, and I get the top 10, and those are the words that I'm going to look at individually, because what I did find here is that it does not lend itself well to visualization and aggregation. So I look at them each individually. And what I end up doing is writing them out to essentially text files and reports so that I can look at them each one. So for example, if you look, these are some of the more kind of volatile words in terms of score. And so if you look at them, so if you look at a word like goodbye, oftentimes it's used in a review saying it's essentially talking about a restaurant that used to be good, but that they no longer go to. In other cases, it's referring to a restaurant that is so good that it replaced their previous favorite restaurant. And then it was also heavily skewed by the fact that there is a show called Time to Say Goodbye in Las Vegas, which is the very popular location in this set, and I guess a very popular performance and well liked. Other words were tail, and so the reason why you see tail, this was a good example here because it's sort of a regional food that people respond strongly to. So, for example, lobster tail on the coast, or oxtail in the south, yellowtail in the west coast. So people feel very strongly. So you see a lot of reviews, and this was one that did sort of vary by region. Other ones that I decided to take a look at were lighted. Maybe thought maybe some people would respond differently to like the ambiance in different places, but generally what this came down to was a form of the word delighted or highlighted. One interesting one was the word diarrhea, which I would assume would always have a negative connotation, but what you ended up seeing here were a lot of people leaving reviews about how they got food poisoning, and a lot of people writing good reviews and addressing previous reviews, sort of negating that, or saying that I thought this was going to happen, but it didn't happen. Or one person who got diarrhea but still thought the food was so good that they still left a good review. So nothing necessarily regional there, but definitely some interesting findings. Finally, I went on to the social network analysis. And what I'm trying to find here are centrality places. So essentially, locations where a user might review and then go to multiple other locations. And it's not surprised. So this is, since each review is tied to a latitude and longitude, we can map these physically. And so everything you see here, this is Nevada. Down here is Arizona. And then on the East Coast, you get the Carolinas over here. Illinois is up here. And then you have Pennsylvania and Ohio around here. So, not surprisingly, a lot of traffic in and out of Las Vegas. But then you also see some interesting connections. So, for example, if you look at Illinois and the Carolinas, you see a strong connection here. So there are a number of people going to both locations. And then finally, looking at the sort of the most influential. So expecting this to be tourist centers, and so we're calculating the degree centrality. And not surprisingly, we see a lot of Las Vegas entries up here. But interestingly, we also see the top slots are taken up by locations in Charlotte, North Carolina. And that concludes my analysis here. Thank you.